Being childless is not normal. Therefore, my older brother's wife stated she would make me watch their children in order to get me to alter my mind. I made the decision to encourage her to want to be childless as well. Zoe is my name. I'm 26. I enjoy my life, and I work remotely as a UX designer for a tiny yet successful software firm. My mornings are quiet. Coffee and a handcrafted mug from the neighborhood art market, background music that isn't too loud, and occasional meditation if my anxiety is getting the better of me. The only creatures I'm in charge of are my succulents, which are all named after fonts because, yep, I'm that type of designer. My apartment is always clean and smells like cinnamon and eucalyptus. I've known all along that I don't want kids. This wasn't a snap decision or a temporary phase. Since I was around 18, it has been a well-supported, well-considered conviction. My instincts are not maternal. I never dreamed of baby names or played house. I don't feel satisfied at the thought of having restless nights and getting puked on. I want to run because of it. Freedom appeals to me. Silence is good to me. It's convenient to be able to plan last-minute yoga retreats or go on impromptu road vacations with my best friend Clara without having to arrange for a babysitter. Above all, I enjoy having my life to myself. My mother volunteered to freeze my eggs for me during an awkward dinner conversation, and after some initial displeasure, my parents have changed their minds. They no longer bring it up at Thanksgiving, or at least they appreciate my choice now. Jason, however, never let it go. My older brother is named Jason. Even at the age of 32, he still believes that he is the family's leader because he is the eldest child. He drives a hybrid SUV, works in sales, and is married to his 30-year-old college sweetheart, Amber, who is the perfect example of every Facebook mom meme you've ever seen. They live in a circus house. 3 children younger than 6. Liam is 5 years old. Ava is 3 years old. Additionally, Jackson is a baby. The scent of apple juice and Lysol permeates their entire house. All surfaces are sticky. Even when the TV is off, I can assure you that there is always a Paw Patrol episode on someplace. Chaos reigns. It's draining. It's their lives, not mine, though. But Amber has dedicated her life to converting me to the cult of motherhood. On Instagram stories, she shares inspirational phrases that are passive-aggressive, such as "some people will never understand what real love is until they have children." She then follows it up with a selfie of herself holding a screaming Jackson, who is wearing a full diaper. I've started limiting my visits to twice a year because every time I go, it's the same speech wrapped in a different shade of judgment. She's always saying things like, "You're too young to know what you want. One day your biological clock will wake up." And my personal favorite, "It's selfish not to have kids." She even once cornered me in the kitchen on Christmas Eve and said, "You'd be such a good mom if you just tried that. You're depriving yourself of purpose." As if my life's value was only measurable in diaper changes and daycare pickups. Last weekend, oh boy, Jason and Amber were invited to a wedding with no kids allowed 2 towns over. So they called and asked if I would babysit. When I informed them that Clara and I had already made plans to go tubing down the French Broad River and then have dinner at our favorite taco joint, something we had been looking forward to for weeks, Amber lost it. She accused me of being self-centered, claimed I had no family, and began to rant about how I needed to take charge and learn what true responsibility is. She ended the call with the dramatic statement, "You need to grow up." I rolled my eyes, hung up, and continued my day. On Saturday morning, at 7:14 a.m., I was startled awake by the distinct sound of a minivan door slamming, initially assuming it was a neighbor. Then, I heard small, quick footsteps, followed by a knock so forceful that I thought the door would collapse. Still wiping sleep from my eyes, I staggered to the door in my pajamas. Liam was holding a tablet, Ava was wearing a tutu with one sock on, and Jackson was crying in a carrier on the floor with a diaper bag, an insulated lunchbox, a jumble of plastic toys, and a sticky note that said, "Be back Sunday," posted to the door. "Auntie Zoe, thank you." They had just left them. No heads up, no phone call, no confirmation. Just dropped off 3 tiny humans like Amazon packages and vanished into the wedding weekend sunset. I stood there barefoot, stunned as Ava pushed past me into the living room and said, "I'm hungry." I called Jason in a panic at first, but it went straight to voicemail. I tried Amber as well, but her phone was unanswered, and Clara was already texting me to inquire what time it was. When I was picking her up, I was angry. Not just because they had ambushed me with children, but because they really believed that I would just suck it up and parent on command, that I had no life, that my time, choices, and boundaries didn't matter, that they wanted to prove something, that I was wrong and they were right, that I needed this deep down, and that they would be the ones to fix me. Something inside of me exploded as I looked around my living room, which was a mess, with crushed goldfish crackers, someone removing books from my shelves, and Jackson chewing on the corner of a throw pillow. Okay, so they wanted me to babysit. So I decided to babysit my way. As you know, Jason and Amber decided I needed an unsolicited crash course in parenting. Most people would have canceled their plans, stayed at home, and complained on Instagram, but not me. I didn't cancel my tubing trip. Clara, a saint among women, met me in the River Launch parking lot with a raised eyebrow and a full-body laugh, and she said, "You're insane," when she saw the minivan full of chaos I packed into my car. They abruptly dropped 3 kids off at my front door and left for a wedding weekend without warning, without a call, confirmation, or even a heads-up text. Jackson got into a waterproof baby carrier that made me look like I was smuggling a screaming watermelon against my chest, and Ava got floaties and insisted on wearing her glitter sunglasses, despite the fact that it was mostly cloudy. Then, like it was just another Saturday, I assisted Liam in strapping him into a kid-sized life vest. We floated down the river for nearly 2 hours, with Clara and I in our tubes with coolers tied to our ankles, the kids bobbing alongside us like drunk ducklings, and even a small speaker playing kids' songs that Ava requested but mostly ignored, preferring to sing her own renditions of Frozen songs at full volume while waving to passing kayakers like she was in a parade. At one point, Liam tried to catch a fish with his bare hands and almost flipped himself overboard. Clara fished him out by his vest like a soggy puppy. People stared. Of course they did. We looked like the most bizarre bachelorette party gone wrong. Without missing a beat, I said nope, just the most reluctant babysitter in the world. He laughed, but I didn't. After the tubing adventure, we loaded up the damp, slightly sunburned crew and drove to a dog-friendly taco truck lot near Clara's apartment. Clara brought her rescue mutt named Peaches, who instantly became the 4th child in this spontaneous gang. The kids were going crazy over the picnic benches, the dogs, and the smell of carne asada. We got them quesadillas with mild queso, little cups of beans, and a basket of churros, which somehow ended up mostly on Ava's face. Jackson passed out in his stroller, holding half a chew as a trophy. We sat in the sun while they played with napkins, spilled water, and pointed at pigeons like they were wildlife experts. I was exhausted, sure, sticky, and mildly damp, but not miserable. I didn't send Amber lengthy updates or texts pleading with her to return early. Instead, I sent selfies every hour, showing me with the kids in inner tubes, the kids holding tacos, Jackson sleeping with a chow in hand, Ava drooling on the couch with salsa on her cheek, and Liam snoring with his mouth open and one shoe on. Don't get it wrong, it was just a crazy enough social experiment to be entertaining. By the time we got back to my place, all 3 were asleep in less than 10 minutes, with Ava drooling on the couch with glitter on her forehead and a temporary unicorn tattoo from the taco truck proudly stamped on her arm. When the minivan pulled up around 10 o'clock on Sunday morning, I opened the door with my hair in a bun, wearing leggings with an unidentified stain on the thigh and a t-shirt that read, "Introverted but willing to discuss tacos." I pictured Amber looking at her phone during the wedding reception, trying to figure out whether I was thriving or going crazy. The truth was somewhere in the middle. With her wedding makeup still partially applied and her smugness radiating off her like perfume, Amber looked stunning. As she entered the apartment, I could see her gears turning, toys strewn everywhere, a juice box on its side, a toddler snoring on the couch, and her temporary unicorn tattoo front and center. Amber focused on the tattoo as if it were a crime scene, gasping, like really gasping, before going into a monologue about how careless I was and how tattoos, even fake ones, convey the wrong message. She was halfway through a sentence about how mothers need to set a good example when I interrupted her. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't defend myself. I just handed her the sticky diaper bag, pointed to her children still soundly asleep, and said, "Next time, ask someone who wants the job." She said that this was not the type of motherhood exposure she had in mind, that I should have followed the schedule she never actually gave me, that letting the kids eat churros and play in a public place was dangerous, that Jackson's nap routine would be disrupted for days, and that Ava's temporary tattoo was low class. I believed I had made my point clear after the tubing trip incident, and it decided to use sticky selfies. I imagined that babysitting would be an issue that would never be discussed again. I didn't yell, and I didn't leave the kids behind. I just parented my way and made it very clear that I wasn't inspired, fulfilled, or secretly craving a child of my own. I thought I was over Amber's bizarre campaign to rewire my uterus. But Amber is the type of person who doesn't give up, and she doesn't recognize boundaries. Instead, she sees them as gentle suggestions like speed limits or yogurt expiration dates. It began with a text: "Girls' movie night at our place. Just something chill. Come by at 6 o'clock. Bring snacks." It sounded harmless enough, and I assumed we were talking about wine, popcorn, and a romantic comedy. I stopped at the store and picked up some sour cream and onion chips, a couple bottles of soda, and a pint of my favorite mint chocolate chip. Ice cream as a backup in case the movie turned out to be depressing. I was expecting to collapse on their crumb-filled couch for 2 hours of Bridesmaids, or something equally chaotic and cozy when I arrived at their house in leggings and a sweatshirt. Instead, Amber met me at the door with a pastel pink t-shirt that said, "Future Mama in Training," in cursive letters. Before I could comprehend the horror, she gestured for me to go to the living room, where a 34-minute video of Jackson trying to put a spoon in his mouth was already playing on the TV. I counted the minutes, and each time he missed and smeared applesauce on his face, Amber made a cooing sound as if it was the first time she had ever seen it. Her eyes were wide with the kind of intensity you only see in cult leaders and multi-level marketing salespeople. Ava made a brief appearance in the background of one clip, and I swear she rolled her eyes. I felt a glimmer of solidarity with the little diva, and then the evening took a turn for the worse. Amber had prepared a full agenda, complete with slides, actual PowerPoint slides, and titles like "The Joy of Repetition," "Why Toddlers Repeating the Same Question 19 Times Builds Character," and "Baby Endorphins Are a Natural Antidepressant." One slide even featured a pyramid of emotional needs, with being needed by a child at the top, like some sort of divine enlightenment. She called it Maslow's pyramid of mommyhood. There was no wine, popcorn, or comedy, just Amber talking over shaky videos of bath time and diaper blowouts, while I sat frozen in shock, still holding my bag of chips like a hostage in a hostage negotiation. After about 90 minutes of watching a toddler try to blink in the sink with a dog, I got up and said I needed some fresh air. Jason waved from the kitchen with a thumbs up. I didn't wave back. Back in my apartment, wrapped in a blanket and reeling from secondhand embarrassment, I realized something important. This wasn't just about babysitting. This wasn't even about kids. Amber had made my life a personal challenge, and I represented something to her that she couldn't relate to, couldn't control, and most importantly, couldn't convert, and that drove her crazy. I decided to fight back, not with anger, but with something more powerful. Curated passive aggression wrapped in artisanal packaging. I bought her a subscription to the free Spirit Living box, a monthly delivery box for women who want to live their best carefree lives. Each box contains a bottle of wine, a luxury scented candle, a travel-sized skincare kit, gourmet snacks, and lifestyle accessories like novelty tote bags or oversized sunglasses. One month's included a silk eye mask that read, "Woke up like this, but not for kids." However, I didn't end there. Each month's box now included a custom-printed card, the first of which said, "You can be anything, even someone whose luggage doesn't contain any diapers." The second said, "When no one is yelling your name through a bathroom door, you can get a good night's sleep." Another said, simply, "You look good in freedom." For 6 months, I planned for the subscription to arrive. Amber was unable to give it back. Like an unwanted whisper from a childless deity, it arrived anonymously. Every package appeared to have been put together by someone who arranges flights to Iceland alone and attends Thursday brunches. She didn't admit it at first, but I could see she was getting them. Clara and I eagerly followed her Instagram stories. She wrote more about how to say no and taking time for yourself than she did on the pleasures of parenthood. Before the major one hit, there were pictures of books, lattes, and even a close-up of a bubble bath with the comment, "Self-care matters." Amber shared an Instagram story a few days later showing herself sipping champagne on a terrace without kids. After the balcony wine article, 2 weeks went by. I believed that everything had finally calmed down for a time. No more unexpected kids showing up at my house. No more diaper enlightenment PowerPoint presentations. No brand new pink t-shirts. Referring to me as a future mother, Amber even reclaimed my joy by posting a picture of a mindfulness book with a caption, "I believe that the great uterus war of 2025 had come to a close." Next, at 8:03 a.m., my phone rang on a Wednesday. Jason was the one. I never get a call from Jason. Like a father, he texts. There are strange acronyms that have no meaning, sporadic thumbs up emojis, and no punctuation. A phone call at 8 a.m. raised warning signs. I was already bracing myself as I answered groggily. His voice sounded somewhere between existential anguish and fear. Amber was gone. Not left, please. On the left. Not indefinitely. Not with a divorce lawyer and suitcases. A child's drawing of what I later understood was a giraffe eating a truck was attached next to a sharper written letter she had left on the refrigerator. She had reserved an Airbnb downtown, a co-working apartment with blackout curtains, exposed brick, and no high-pitched voices within 3 meters. It read, I went to restore internal balance. Jeeps turned off. All questions to Jason. She had brought one bag, a yoga mat, a copy of Glennon Doyle's Untamed, and a lavender sleep mist, according to her Instagram story. As Jason talked, I tried not to laugh at her caption, living like a human again. No porridge stains, no screaming. I didn't succeed. His voice was hollowed out. Claimed that he was attempting to prepare breakfast, but was unable to locate Amber's cereal without marshmallows. When he tried to microwave cereal, he neglected to add water. He informed me that Liam had added shampoo to the humidifier while Jackson was chewing on a Hot Wheels vehicle. He murmured that Ava had spent more than an hour searching for her favorite doll, the one with the glitter adhered to her head and one eye. The doll was in the freezer. Spoiler alert. She was on vacation, according to Liam. Since no child ever requests a taste of raw fish, I prepared a rescue kit, a bag of emergency supplies, California roll sushi, 2 iced coffees, and enough wet wipes to clean a school bus. Before Jason even opened the door when I arrived at their house, I could see the defeat on his face. He didn't look very good. He had his shirt on backwards. There was something sticky on the side of his neck, possibly a banana or applesauce, and he was wearing only one sock. Jackson was placed in a booster seat using duct tape. Liam had painted a complex racetrack across the hallway with permanent marker, and Ava was screaming because the TV wouldn't listen. Jason opened the door as if it weighed 50 pounds. Before he even said, "Thank you," he took the coffee from me and drank half of it. I entered the living room and made an effort not to flinch. It appeared to be the fallout from a toddler rebellion. There were couch cushions on the ground. There was an enigmatic trail of raisins leading to the restroom, and someone had opened all the board games at once. I started working, washed my hands and face, and watched an uninstructive movie. Discovered the matching shoe of a glitter doll, and used gummies to get them to remain motionless for 12 minutes in a row. Jason stalked me about like a sitcom ghost. Like his brain was buffering, he continued to blink slowly. Jackson once began sobbing for his slumber. Jason attempted to sing the strange combination of a Coldplay song and a lullaby that Amber typically sings. It was unsuccessful. Jackson gave a louder howl. Ava attempted to use waffles to cover her ears. Liam said he had to urinate, but only if someone applauded continuously. Jason questioned, "How is this your everyday?" as he gazed at me while holding sushi that hadn't been touched. I told him it wasn't. I had opted for a life free of this mayhem. I could go. I had doors. It was a long time before he spoke again. I gazed off into space as Jackson let forth a haunted doll-like cry that we eventually got the kids to lie down on soft furnishings in horizontal positions for naps or screen time. Jason slumped against the couch, sat on the floor, and exhaled in a way that I can only describe as a defeated dad. Without mentioning how long Amber would be gone, he muttered something about her while taking another sip of coffee. When he looked at her location sharing, he saw that she had turned it off. A boomerang with her feet up on a window ledge, holding a wine glass, with the phrase "alignment activated," was her last known post. I asked him if he was all right, sat down beside him, and offered him a piece of sushi. He claimed that although he had a newfound respect for Amber and many questions about why she hadn't already left the nation, he would be ultimately. Then, with his shirt still inside out and his eyes bloodshot, he turned to face me and said, the most honest thing I've ever heard him say. He claimed to be unaware that children were singing TikTok tunes outside of TikTok. Amber's phone remained off. Her social media remained a silent collection of wine glass boomerangs and soft filtered views of indoor plants. Jason started speaking in half sentences. The kids started eating cereal with forks. Liam built a fort out of laundry baskets, and he declared, "Dad now." For days on end, there was chaos, crusted applesauce, and my brother muttering things like, "I swear that toy wasn't alive yesterday." I checked in daily, always armed with caffeine and snacks, watching my brother come undone in real time. Every time the front door creaked, he looked up like it was a military rescue team arriving. Then, just as suddenly as she vanished, Amber returned. It was a Thursday evening. She walked in with a serene smile, skin glowing, hair freshly cut, into a sleek shoulder-length bob that screamed, "This is the beginning of a new era." She looked like someone who had regained her sanity and wasn't about to apologize for it. She dropped her weekend bag by the door, kissed each child, and told Jason she was going to take a bath. 2 days later, she invited me over for dinner. I was apprehensive at first, half expecting a surprise intervention about my maternal denial, or another movie night full of home videos. But I went out of curiosity because I wanted to see how this post-bath, well-hydrated Amber operated now. The dinner was surprisingly normal. Takeout Thai food, cold white wine, and the kids were already asleep. Jason was in the kitchen packing school lunches like a man who had seen the edge and now feared it. Instead of pushing the pink shirt across the table, pulling out slides about serotonin, or trying to guilt me with finger-painted art, Amber sat down, looked me in the eye, and said something that actually sounded like truth. She said she finally understood that she had spent so much time trying to re-educate me because she was drowning and didn't know how to say it aloud, and that she used to dream about getting away for a day to be alone with a laptop, noise-canceling, headphones, and yogurt that no one had licked first. She missed her own thoughts, her own schedule, and her own identity that had been buried under baby monitors and lukewarm mac and cheese. That night, everything changed. Amber began making room for herself. Jason takes the kids to the park, his mom's, or anywhere else once a week without fail. Amber doesn't leave the house. She stays at home with her laptop, her Spotify, her peaceful piano playlist, and a quiet house. She reads, writes, and occasionally just stares out the window, remembering what it's like to have unhindered thoughts. She drinks hot coffee and yogurt that hasn't been double-dipped by a 3-year-old. The most shocking thing is that Jason has stepped up completely. No more fumbling with bath time like it's rocket science. No more saying, "I don't know how." She does it. He now arranges his activities while avoiding eye contact with a diaper. I see the relief in her eyes when she gets to clock out for a few hours. And I see the newfound balance in their marriage now that Jason actually carries half the mental load instead of thinking grocery shopping counts as parenting. The war is over. Amber no longer tries to drag me into motherhood like it's a cult she can't escape, and she hasn't been asked to babysit once. He packs snacks, knows the difference between the blue cup and the right blue cup, and does it without acting like he deserves a medal. A few nights ago, Amber texted me a picture of herself sitting on the couch in sweatpants, noise-canceling headphones on, a glass of wine in hand, and a very calm expression. The caption read, "Doing nothing feels amazing." In spite of how crazy the road was getting here, from unexpected babysitting invasions to diaper-themed propaganda nights, we managed to make it to the other side with mutual respect intact. She now treats me like a friend rather than a free nanny, which makes me extremely happy. She finally realized what I had been saying all along. You don't need to justify yourself or want what other people want. You just need the freedom to be who you are.